Unlocking doors to your dream home. Keys to the Castle takes you on a real estate journey like never before. Welcome to the podcast where every key opens a door to possibilities.
Welcome back to the Keys to the Castle podcast. I'm your host and realtor, Bisendra Melaram, joined by my fantastic co-host, Mr. Jason Kleiger, our resident counsel. And today we have a very special guest, Miss Brigitte Malik from Inspection Boys here in New York. And she's here to give us the nitty-gritty rundown of all things home inspection. Welcome, Brigitte. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Super excited.
Yeah, so Mr. Kleiger, what's going on, buddy? Today we're talking to the home inspector, you know.
One of my favorite people, to be honest with you.
Really? Thank you.
I love repair writers, and that can be something we talk a little bit after Bridget gets into what she does.
I love that. We should definitely talk about that.
Definitely, because we become best friends, and they're always fun. So
I would love to find out about the repair writers ahead of time, instead of like after we do the final walkthrough, and then all of a sudden I get an email from the lawyer. It's like, hey, there was a repair writer. Are any of these fixed? No, I don't know. Nobody told me.
and you know, it emphasizes the fact that sometimes people should bring their inspector back to see if everything has been
Nobody
fixed.
does that.
No one does that. No one. For some reason, they think, oh, Bisendra, he knows everything about, you know, sewage backups.
But I defer immediately.
Oh,
I defer. I'm like, wait a second. You just had your home inspection done. Did you get the report yet? Yes, I got the report. Call your home inspector back. They will clarify any and everything that they've written down for you, and they will give you the best course of action moving forward. Oh, they didn't tell me that. I'm telling you that.
Well, we always do tell them. They just don't listen.
I don't know, Bridget, speak louder or something. I don't know.
They don't freaking listen. I mean, I had a customer last week call us and said, hey, this report is too detailed.
I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
Too detailed.
Wait, how many pages is...
That was about 50 pages. And they said it was too detailed.
How big was the property?
I don't know, 2,000 square feet. And literally they said too detailed. And I'm like, we're not changing the report on this. Like, this is what it is. Like, you paid us to do a service. We did that service. And at the end of the day, the more detailed we are, the more we're covering our butts and everybody else's butts.
Right, because you're making them more. That's what you're getting paid for.
Just have them not read it. Like, you know, you could just, you know, tell the person.
It was just so many, like, totally unrealistic expectations. And
50 pages is not that bad, I don't think.
But it's funny because, like, they say, oh, it's too detailed. But some of the little items are the easiest items that you can put into a contract for the seller to fix. So, for example, you know, light switches or reverse polarity, you know, these are the simplest things to have repaired and done, and, you know, most sellers agree to it. I guess that might be too detailed for these buyers.
You know, buyers I think on our end, it would make it so much easier if they just had a better understanding of what the process is before we get there, because I think there's also this just very big misconception of what a home inspection is. And another big issue is that we get the blame for everything.
Yes. I like blaming them.
Everything. Everything. Like,
did your home
agents
inspector
are
bring
blaming us after they close, and all of a sudden they call with a complaint, and the electrician says, oh, no, your home inspector should have told you this. And meanwhile, it's like aluminum wiring hid inside the middle of the wall cavity that we should have found because we have x-ray vision.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into the scope of what a home inspection is.
Yeah.
So in previous podcasts, we've gone over the home purchase process, and we are currently now at the inspection stage. So let's get into what the home inspection process is. So normally in New York, because that's where all of us are right now, before the signing of a contract, I encourage the buyer or purchaser to order a home inspection. So, Bridget, tell us, what does that entail? And then Mr. Kleiger will take over, and from his point of view and his perspective, what he looks for when he sits down, if he has to review the inspection report with his client.
So I think it's really important to know, so to speak, who you're going into bed with. Right? Because there's a lot of companies that are home inspection companies, and not all of them are great. There's actually, in fact, we have a home inspection school, so we teach inspectors how to do home inspections, and we see what's going out there in the industry.
Okay, so so very baseline, very granular, so what should a buyer or someone looking for a home inspector, because there are instances, and I'll get into that in a later podcast, of other instances where a home inspector would be useful, but strictly for purchasing, what should, in the very early stages of when they're looking for a home inspector, what should the purchaser be looking for in their home inspector? Like qualifications, licensing, insurance, those kinds of things. What?
Yeah, so New York, if you are a home inspector, you have to be licensed. There's guys out there that call themselves home inspectors and they're not licensed.
Okay.
So you can ask them, make sure they can, for the license number, whatever. Check out online reviews, what people are saying about them, because the company that only has like 5 reviews versus a company that has like thousands of reviews, totally different animal. That means that company that has thousands of reviews, they have a lot of experience behind them.
Right.
Whereas the guy with 5 inspection reviews,
his cousin.
It's probably a part-time inspector.
Right.
And then also one of the things I think a lot of people forget about is what type of insurance are they carrying. Because, the state only mandates us to have general liability, and it's like the least amount of coverage it's like very low coverage. Yeah. So a lot of these bigger companies, they're going to have million-plus coverages.
Okay.
But they're not only going to carry general liability, they're going to have errors and omissions, which I like to say is OS insurance.
Right.
Like you mess up on something and you're actually deemed that you're at fault.
Yeah.
That's what's paying out. It's not coming out of my bank account.
No.
And then workers' comp.
Okay.
Because we've had situations in the past where somebody went through the sheetrock or something like that, and workers' comp then kicks in and covers us.
Right, because you want to take care of your employees
Right.
also.
Exactly.
Got it.
And most companies don't carry errors and omissions in workers' comp because the smaller companies simply cannot afford it.
Right, and most smaller home inspection companies, if we want to, or one-man shows?
Yeah, one-man shops, yep.
So the inspection boys...
We're not.
You're not.
We are... In Long Island itself, we have about 15 inspectors right now.
Okay.
So we are pretty big, and we do a lot of inspections a year.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah, I mean, it didn't happen like that when inspection was first started. My business partner was doing his area, and I was doing my area, and we were the inspectors in the field doing everything.
What?
So we came from, but I've always carried. You got to remember, I had another business, so my other business held all these insurances too, and I was just able to add this as an additional stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, so let's get down to what should, outside of licensing, insurance, experience, right? Because you want to look for the most experienced home inspector. So what are key takeaways that a big question that I get asked, let's just back up a little. Can I go with my home inspector to the home inspection? I always say yes.
We love when they're there.
But I tell them,
shut up.
Don't ask anything.
Yep.
If you have questions, ask them before or ask them after.
Yes.
Right? If you feel that they missed something, ask them after because they have certain things they need to get done. Everyone's got their own system, right? So I usually tell them, ask them beforehand, look, I have a concern about this. If you have a few extra minutes later on or while you're doing it, take an extra look and then let me know at the end. But I always tell them, the home inspector's not going to have a problem because you're paying them to be there. Just don't be on their back.
So, honestly, I couldn't have worded that any better because home inspectors, by nature, if you talk to any of us, we always do our inspections the same way every single time. The only time we switch it up is like we get to a property and like, oh, can you start on the inside first because the tenant needs to leave? Okay, we'll switch it up like that. But it's very small things where it's not going to throw us out of whack.
Okay.
The reason why is we are literally looking at thousands of items in that period of time. So we had a job just the other day. Inspector called me, said buyer was just talking to him and following him the whole time. He didn't make a big deal about it, which is fine. Like, if you want to do that, then do that, right?
That's your time.
But like he said, I almost forgot to do the most simplest things, which was just open up the electrical panel.
Right.
And he was like, not because I knew I had to do it, but because they were talking to me so much. And they actually pulled him out of the basement to go look at something on the outside instead of just waiting until he got to. And so he actually almost left that out.
Yeah, that would have been
because
bad.
the buyer
just a
was
little
trying to distract him.
Right. That would have been
real
bad.
That's a huge. So thank God he realized it because he called me in like a panic. Like he just needed to.
Well, he sounds like a good inspector.
Right. He just needed to talk about it. Like, this is just what happened. It's fine, but how do you want me to handle
How do you handle
these
it in the
things?
future? Right.
Yeah.
Being proactive, I like that.
So it's just, I always encourage buyers to be there. We want you there, but ask us. Like, my whole thing is when I meet with a buyer, I always ask them, look, is there any concerns that you have or things that you notice that you're really concerned about? so I know ahead of time.
Right.
They'll tell me, okay, you know what? I saw this crack over here, or whatever the case may be. Okay. I'll call extra attention to it, and then I'll make sure at the end of the inspection, I will go through a whole thing where I'm showing them where the main water heat or the main water meter is to shut it off, the gas meter. You know, a lot of people don't even realize there's an emergency switch for your boiler.
They don't.
And they don't even know.
They don't.
Yeah. So we kind of go around showing them all these different things, and then those items that they mentioned ahead of time, we go over those things too. After it's done, after we've done everything, because for us, it's easier for us now to take everything we just went over and explain it all.
Right. And then you also provide a report at the end.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get into that now that we covered buyers are allowed to show up to their inspection.
Well, I actually have a question.
Sure.
How often is it that brokers will show up at the inspection?
Like brokers that
Are you
own
trying to single me
the
out?
office or the actual agent?
Either agent that shows up for the inspection, and how often does that happen, and do they get in the way and try to explain things away?
So,
and not present company, of course not. But
I love agents. First off,
agents are great. I love agents, but
you know what? We have agents that come, and then we have some agents that never show up. They're just or they'll send somebody on their team. They send a lot of the new agents that are on their team to go handle these things. And if there's an issue, then they just tell us, "Call me if you really need me." All right. So those agents, we kind of know their system and what they want, and we'll accommodate it. But I actually do enjoy it better when the agent is there, because then if there is an issue, we can go over it with them. I mean, we've had issues where they try to blame us for a leak. And it's like, listen, we literally are here to try to find leaks, and this pipe is leaking. Yeah. We did not make this pipe leak. There's no physical way for us to do that. And they try to blame us and all this, and it turns into like a nightmare. So I think also there's agents that are like that. Like those agents actually make my life a little bit difficult.
Oh, of course.
Because they blame us, and you're right there, and you see what's happening. And I think sometimes the agent can actually make the situation worse than what it should be if you just handle and you use the correct emotions during that time.
Right. And so I personally, when physically possible, attend all inspections, including appraisals, right? And the reason I do this is in the event that my buyer, or even the case of if it's my seller, I'm representing that party, I feel that it's my responsibility to be there. That's just the way I run my practice. Okay. So now, if I'm there with a buyer during a home inspection, it's basically to alleviate the pressure from the home inspector. Because, like everything else, I'm playing intermediary. I'm quarterbacking the whole process. So now what's going to happen is if they have a question or something pop up, I'll say, excuse me, just like that, excuse me, like when they're passing, like if they're going upstairs, downstairs, like they're running the water upstairs and they're going downstairs, whatever the case is, I'm like, hey, excuse me, like they had a question. If you have a minute, just...
Yeah.
Let's go over it. And then there's that, right? And the other time is, in case something like that arises, I never take the position of, oh my God, you did that.
Yeah.
Right? Because, number one, I'm not a home inspector. Number two, I'm not a plumber. Number three, I'm just not.
No, you're just not.
Right? I'm just not.
Yeah.
Right? So... people don't understand that home inspectors are there to find the problem. So I like to play the intermediary. So and then having everyone understand it on the same level and of understanding is very important because it makes the end process when it gets to the attorney much easier because everyone understands what's happening. The home inspector understands that, hey, this buyer at this property had this question, this come up, was not aware of it. They may call back about it or whatever the case is. Or the attorney might have, hey, what's this thing that they took a picture of that my buyer says it was not there the last time? I don't know. It's there now.
And the agents talk to each other and say, hey, there's this issue, and everyone agreed to fix it so that it's not like, here's the deal sheet, and you have no idea what's going on.
Right. And I get ahead of a lot of things before it gets to the table because I don't like surprises at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a closing needs to take super long.
No.
Right? So going back to the home inspecting. So I like to be there with the buyer or the seller, going through the process, making sure that they're concerned and they're comfortable. That way I can report back to their attorney, like, hey, everything went good. Yeah, your client is ready to go. They're going to get the report. If anything pops that or shows up in a photo, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go over some of the things that the home inspector looks for, and then we'll get into some weird things that you've seen.
So one of the other things I kind of want to mention, every inspector is different. Right? You have, like, I'm like a more energetic, personal inspector.
Okay.
Right? So, like, when I get to a property, I'm also going to judge based upon what the feeling is I'm getting. Like, we go to some inspections and people want us to act like we're invisible.
Oh.
They just don't want us to making a noise. They just want to know we're there and just come to them whenever they need. It's really weird what we get put into. And then other times they want us there having conversations with them. Like, so it's like, it's kind of stressful for us too. But on our end, like the inspectors, I always tell them, you know, I can't control, like we have great inspectors. Every single inspector has a different personality. Right. So you're going to have some inspectors who can talk. You're going to have some inspectors who just want to
do their job,
focus, do their job. They're going to explain to you everything, but they may not be so chit-chatty.
Right.
And that doesn't make them a bad inspector.
No.
They still give you a really good in-depth report, and they still do a really great job. So, I mean, that's one of the things, too, that some people, you know, we have some people that just go, I don't want this inspector because he never talks. Okay, like, we'll give you an inspector who talks, but like, just so you know, he's still very experienced. Like, he knows what he's doing and looking at. He just doesn't talk as much as everybody else.
That's his personality.
Right.
I'm not paying for his personality.
And a lot of inspectors are actually big introverts.
Yeah. That's why
they do this job.
Yeah. Because they have grave attention to detail.
Yeah.
So, right? But they just introverts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the main thing is, like, when we're inspecting, like, they're putting together this whole report. Mm-hmm. And then we're looking at everything. I mean, the electric, the HVAC, everything. And then we're documenting everything in a report. And there's no set limit to, like, how many pages a report needs to be. There's no set limit to how many pictures. What sucks about the license law is that it just tells you what we need to report on, but it doesn't tell you how it needs to be documented.
Okay, so what does license law say you need to document?
The license law tells us it's like our standards of practice. Like real estate agents, you guys have your standards, right? Or, you know,
they're displayed outside of our office.
Kinda.
Right. And so as us, like, there's certain parts of electrical we always have to do, certain parts of HVAC, certain parts of plumbing, exterior. Like, there's a whole list of everything we have to do. But there's also, it's very vague. Right. So I could get into a house. An average house, maybe 50 outlets, maybe.
Is that the average?
Maybe. I'm just throwing out a number.
You would know better than I do.
Yeah.
Like maybe 50 outlets, right? I don't know.
Right. So what do you guys go around and check every outlet?
Technically, the license law says a representative number.
What's a representative
exactly.
number?
4.
They stick the tester in one outlet.
They could literally get away with checking one outlet and be fully covered by the New York State law.
Okay, but you guys don't do that.
No. So my rule of thumb is, and this is just because I'm super crazy and anal, like I just want things like detailed. I tell everybody when they're training, if I ever see that you chose to walk into a room and only do one outlet and I see 5 that are available, we have a problem.
Okay.
Because take the extra 20 seconds to check those other outlets.
Right.
Like, my rule of thumb is every outlet that's available to us to test, I want to test.
Okay, so
a vacant house, technically, we should be testing every single outlet.
Okay, that's good.
You know,
I like that.
But if, like, it's an occupied space, like this room here, I would not start moving. If there's any outlets over there, we wouldn't start moving any of that.
No, just visible.
Exactly.
Right.
Or just visible, or things that aren't plugged in. People get really upset about their coffee machines.
They do.
They get really upset.
Because
it's on a timer.
Yeah, and then and not only that, but
Yeah.
you have to reset like the clock on it and everything.
They
Yeah.
get really
Like
upset.
the
microwave. Oh man,
it takes all of 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm still like that.
I was
like,
up.
What?
I was up for half an hour last night trying to figure out how to set the clock on my microwave, only to do it next week when the clocks go back. But I'm sorry.
No.
So if a homeowner has like their iPod and everything plugged
We're not unplugging it.
You're not unplugging
We're not unplugging it because even cable box, like we're inside somebody else's space and they don't like us touching things to a certain degree.
They don't. They don't want you in their space.
Right. They're already uncomfortable. But the whole thing is already uncomfortable.
I don't think it should be,
and
but
I don't think so either. But like, we have to respect other people's spaces.
Of course, absolutely.
Too. And that's the thing that sometimes buyers forget about is, okay, great, you have an accepted offer. I'm so happy for you.
Right.
We're going to try to make our process as smooth as possible, but if we can't do something, you don't own the house yet, so we still have to do whatever the seller is telling us.
Right. And you have to be courteous too,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. That's a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that that's actually what's going on in the world today. I'm not judging anybody, but you
can't. The
humanity.
It's not gone. Technically, it's not your house. It's not your personal property. So and you really can't move it at all.
So we had an HVAC system in an attic behind sheetrock, just like this.
Mm-hmm. We couldn't access
it.
Get to it.
So this buyer is there yelling at us, telling us, "Well, make a hole and get into there. This is my house." No, and you don't own the house
and
yet.
that's why I like to be there because I enjoy those moments. Yeah. And I'm like, but wait, you didn't pay for it yet. Yeah. Like if there's an access panel and we can get access to it, the home inspector will utilize it. Right. But we're not making modifications. Oh, but we're not making modifications.
Right.
This is a fact-finding mission, and we can't find the facts behind the wall.
Right.
Right? No. I'm that guy.
It's like hoarders,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Yeah. Well, I actually will refuse hoarder jobs.
Oh.
Unless it's been completely cleared out.
Yeah.
There's just pointless. You're paying
for me to
what?
look. Yeah.
I'm literally walking in and I'm disclaiming everything because I can't see anything. Also for liability purposes, I would be stupid to even take on that job.
I think I wouldn't. So in that case, I would not even call Brigitte to come inspect that property. There's another protocol that I particularly have. But we're not bringing a home inspector to inspect trash.
Right.
No.
Right. You can't even see anything.
The home inspection, in my opinion, is just to check the utilities, check the appliances, and give you a baseline of what you're getting yourself into for the next few years. Right? So it's basically the user manual for the property that you're about to buy.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes, I totally agree. And it's like I like to refer it as like a honey-do list.
Yes.
Right? Under
That's
no
really good. I'm gonna use that.
circumstance are you buying a perfect house.
No.
You're not buying a perfect house. You're
Even
buying
if it was
a house.
New construction built
There's always
yesterday.
something.
No. New construction is even worse.
Yeah, it is.
You're
You have to call 10 years later.
You're buying something that has been lived in and has been worn on. We had people telling us, well, why didn't you report about the paint smearing over here? And I'm like, because that's not part of a home inspection.
It's not.
That's not anything that we would even bat an eye about. Because it's not that's cosmetic. We don't report on cosmetic things. We're there, so people forget that. And quite honestly, the worst, and it's not happening as much, was during the pandemic. That was the worst because we had people just going crazy offers, buying these houses, waiving inspections, waiving appraisal, doing all these crazy things. And they buy the house and they realize they had buyer's remorse because they realized, oh my God, what did I just buy? This is horrible.
So
we did a lot of inspections after the fact.
So for those who can hear, I'm knocking on wood because all the transactions that I've done during the pandemic, and I'm only going to pat myself on the back this one time because I haven't done it yet, has never waived an inspection and did not pay overprice. Yeah. Every single one did an inspection.
Mine was in the newspaper for being the highest over ask in Suffolk County.
Where?
No way.
Centerport.
Was it
was
really?
That the recent one?
That was during the pandemic when they first opened up the floodgates to open
houses and stuff.
That's
cool. That was cool.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, but then...
Yeah.
I was going to say something to go on a tangent there.
So, I always encourage buyers to do an inspection, regardless of what they say, right? Because I want, like you were talking about, I want you to be comfortable with the electrical. I want you to be comfortable with the plumbing, the HVAC, your appliances, because those things have a lifespan, right? So is that a service that you guys offer too, or other inspectors should offer or do offer?
So we check the appliances. It's not included in the actual standards.
Okay.
But we do it as a company, as a courtesy.
Okay.
Like we always, if there's as long as the dishwasher has been used before. If it's brand new, and the reason why I say that
off to the side, uninstalled.
Yeah, uninstalled. Well, the reason why I say that is we did a dishwasher. It looked like it was all good, but the plumber never actually connected all the fixtures tightly. So as soon as we turned it on, all the water started coming out. That was another situation they blamed us for. And we're like, yeah, but we didn't install it. Like you could see, now that it's leaking, they didn't even tighten everything.
Right. And so Jason, let's talk about that for a second. Before we get to the report part, right? And if there is any issues with the findings of the home inspection company. In that case, where the seller did not disclose that that particular appliance was not connected, because they have to have known. The seller has to have known. It's a known defect to the seller. No, because they had it installed.
Regardless, okay? Regardless. Because what attorney is going to put in, or neglect to put in the contract that the appliances have to be in working order? So even if the seller knew, didn't know, thank you. Thank you. So even if the seller knew, didn't know, or was out, and hasn't been home in 6 months and moved already, appliances have to be in working order. Now, that's not in working order. Boom. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that completely destroyed my question. But okay.
Wait, what, do you have a better question, Bisendra?
I don't, because that was okay. So, electrical, plumbing.
Oh,
what else do you guys?
One other thing too that I just meant. I think this is probably the most critical thing, in my opinion. The home inspection is not a guarantee of what's going to happen to your house in the future.
It is not.
No.
It is just the current state that it's in.
Exactly. So if your roof is not leaking the day of the inspection,
does not mean
it's never going to leak.
Okay, so we're talking about roofs now, right? So I've seen a few home inspection reports over the years, and they usually tell you how many layers of roof shingle they see, the material that it's made from, and a projected life expectancy of the current covering.
I hate that.
Wait. You don't like when it says the projected lifespan?
Hate it.
So, like, even if you see, for example, like a boiler that was built 30 years ago, and you wouldn't say, I'm just in general. I'm just saying you in general, but I've seen in millions that it says, it's reaching the end of its projected lifespan.
Yeah, as soon as I see a 20-year-old boiler or even 15-year-old, it's already, we have a comment, out of warranty, expected lifespan. It could last another 15 years, but I got to protect myself knowing that more than likely the manufacturer's warranty is done. And that's what everybody always counts on.
Yes.
I hate roof expectancy lifespan.
Oh, so it's limited to roofs. Okay.
I'll tell you right now why.
Tell me, because I really want to know that.
I also hate the number of layers of shingles too, because I don't even want to say it's just investors, but contractors in general, when they do that, they actually, so at the edge of the roof layer, it may look like one, but what they've done is the second layer before they've cut it back, so we can't even see it. So what happens when the roof starts leaking and then they start taking off some of the shingles? Now they realize, holy crap, this is actually 3 layers. Who do they come back to and try to tell us, hey, you only told me one layer?
Yeah.
Like, no, we told you what we could see, right?
Right, because
and
you're not
now
going to peel back the roof.
when we go, and then when we go to the property and we see, wait a second, contract took up all these shingles and they found these things after, that makes sense. We're not liable for that. We can't see what's not seen to us. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, because you're not peeling. But
you can't take
you're not going to go with the.
We can't do it.
What's that tool where you
I forget.
peel up
it's like that big. Yeah.
It looks like a crowbar.
Yeah, it looks like a crowbar, but it has
flat.
those blades. Yeah. We're not doing that.
That roofing tool, whatever.
Yeah. We're not doing that. And then the life expectancy, the only one that we do that for is our Florida locations. And it's not even on the home inspection. It's on an insurance form that we fill out, and we're giving them, the insurance wants to know if it has 5 years left.
Right, that's all they care about.
That's all they care about, so they can get homeowners insurance. Right? But that's a mandated form in Florida that home inspectors do in order for people to get insurance.
Got it.
That's the only one. Otherwise, none of us would ever include this. I don't like it. I don't do it in our reports, because you can have a 30-year-old roof look like a 5-year-old roof.
Absolutely.
Because it's just a condition. There's no trees overhanging. They take good care of it. Homeowners.
I've seen people power wash it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Not power wash it.
Soft wash.
Soft wash.
Soft wash is fine. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Sorry.
About to give you a heart attack. But I've seen 5-year-old roofs that look like 30-year-olds.
Yes.
Why?
Elements.
Yeah, the elements.
What if they're covered in snow? Yeah.
Yeah, we can't. Oh, yeah, it's disclaimed. We can't do it. We will inspect we'll inspect the attic, we'll inspect everywhere that we could see, but if the roof is covered in snow, it's getting disclaimed.
Okay. That's fair, because you can't see it.
We can't see it. Agents get mad at us, and we're like, look, if you want us to come back when the snow's gone, we can come back. But do you guys remember a few years ago where we had so much snow and it was like on the floor for like 2 weeks. It was like below freezing.
No.
It wasn't melting.
No.
I was out there snow blowing. I remember.
I remember. Yeah.
It wasn't a few years ago. I know the event that you're talking about. I'm trying to calculate how many years ago.
It was a while.
It was a while.
It was a while.
Because I missed the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we got nothing last year.
It was like 4 storms in January.
Yeah,
it was like back to back.
It was just back to back.
Yep.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
weekend, just another blizzard, blizzard.
That one we were disclaiming roofs because the snow never had an opportunity to even melt.
No.
It was just.
I don't understand why an agent would get mad about that. Because you're inspecting the inside, right?
I would love to know the answer to that too.
Because you freak out buyers.
No, but no. Okay, maybe I'm coming from a place of common sense, but if you have, let's just say 3-4 inches of snow on a roof, and it didn't cave, and the inspector's inside the attic space or the crawl space where the attic is, and there's no active leaks or bowing that can be photographed and visually inspected, they're disclaiming it for regardless. The home inspector.
Well,
just said.
I mean, you can't see it.
We
right?
can't see it.
Right.
We can still
leaks,
inspect
whatever.
the attic.
Yeah.
Right, but if there's no active leak.
If there's no active leak, then that's a business decision for the buyer to make.
But if it's 20 degrees outside, will there be an active leak?
I don't know, Bridget. Will there be an active
or when
leak?
it starts melting?
It'll start when it's melting.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be some level of thaw at the high sun.
But what happens if there's a leak?
But if it's 20 degrees, it ain't going to...
Oh, it's not going to.
Only time is if you have a really good insulated house where the heat from your house is actually starting to heat. But a lot of houses, they don't have it. So
like
you go
the
inside
heat
the
vapor,
attic and it's just as cold as it is outside sometimes.
So I shouldn't have done the blow-in.
No, that's great. The more insulation, the better because it will help. But that's the thing. When it's that cold, sometimes it's not. No leak is going to show in that moment until you start getting that temperature difference.
Right.
Now, if it's like at that 34 degrees, 35, you're going to start to see that.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys. Okay, so we got roof, weather permitting.
Yeah.
Then we have electrical, plumbing. What else?
Kitchen, bathrooms, basements.
Hold on here. We're not talking about the foundation yet.
Well,
foundation.
Foundation.
Yeah. You saw what
I know you're going
now.
up through down.
I just
but
started
I
from
want to get to the foundation.
All right, so let's get to the foundation.
I was waiting. I was so patient.
I saw that little glimmer in your eye.
So patient
because is that really all you really care about at the end of the day? As an attorney getting a home inspection report.
Well, we could talk about that at length about getting a home inspection report. At the end of the day, we treat it like it's a business decision for the buyer to make. You're paying a certain price, and part of that price is because there are faults with the house, within the house. Right. So, if you're buying a house and X, Y, and Z, or that this has to be held up by certain I don't know what those are called.
Columns,
or like that it's sagging because of termites or something like that. You can't.
Termites, another one,
there can be times where clients are like, yeah, well, that's why I'm only paying $450 for it and not $700
because of the conditions.
Exactly. So, and then you have other times where they still want to pay $750 or $700, but they want all that stuff fixed. So that's just for now a brief time because I want to still talk about termites.
That's huge.
Because I once
critters.
Looked at a house and I really wanted this house and it was like Center Hall Colonial, my absolute favorite. And I see this beam and first I'm walking into the den, and then it goes down. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, oh, maybe because it's on a big hill. So then we go down to the basement, and I was with my contractor because we weren't that serious at the time. He takes his pencil and goes
straight through
a beam, right through a solid wood beam. So what should we know about termites?
They're everywhere in Long Island. They're absolutely everywhere. In fact, if we don't find... So there's a form that we fill out, especially if you're a VA loan, FHA loan, NACA, any of those. It's called the NMPA 33 or MPM. I think it's NPA. Oh, whatever. I always mess it up. But it's a national form, and we provide that to the lenders. If the lenders ask for it, right? Sometimes the attorneys will ask for it.
So do you need a special type of licensing and or training to do
Not
termite
in
inspection?
New York.
Okay.
For termites, we always provide training to all the inspectors.
Okay.
My thing with termites is you got to remember, New York has subterranean termites, which is going to make zero sense to you guys, but their colonies are actually usually located outside of the house.
Right.
So if they're inside your house, they're using it as a food source, and there's thousands, sometimes millions of termites coming in.
Gosh.
And it's not all the time. Like most of the time, they're behind your walls. You won't see them.
For those listening, we're recording this the night of Halloween, and I'm very afraid right now.
I'm sorry, I don't mean that.
Because she literally said
Millions.
It depends on the colony size. Like they kind of go everywhere. They have food. Their termites are extremely intelligent, and
I'm even more scared.
And not like we're not talking. But like there's just. I always tell everybody, if we go to a house and we don't see termite damage, I'm not telling you that they're not there. It just might have not been found yet.
So is that like an add-on service? Like if I have a buyer that wants, for whatever reason, their grandmother said, "Oh, make sure you get a termite inspection." Is that something you guys add on?
Company by company, we include it in our inspections.
Okay.
We always include it. Just us as a company.
So should a buyer look for that or ask for it?
Yeah, they should always, because honestly, Long Island, New York City, they're everywhere. We're on sand.
Yeah,
we're on
really
sand.
are.
So that's that. They're just.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to a property and they didn't have the little pots outside.
Yeah, the bait traps. Yeah, and
bait
as soon
traps.
as we see that, we know the house has been treated at some point.
Right. So
which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's nothing wrong with it. I have bait traps around my house.
Yeah, there's nothing.
And I do it as a preventative measure. Whether or not that's going to keep them out, no. But it'll help me if I see them eating the bait, then I know I got to start doing a more aggressive treatment.
Okay, makes sense.
You know, so there's no house that's protected by termites. You can do things that'll help prevent them, but there's no such thing as a swarm. Like during springtime, swarms, they land where they land, and then they move very quick. So if there's not, like on this wall, there's no termite damage or no mud tunnels. I could go on in a few days, and I could see all of a sudden a mud tunnel on here. They move very quickly.
I don't like that term.
Well,
Yeah, so we can't guarantee what happens later on because they eat very quickly and they make tunnels quickly. So
Okay, so let's say in the event that you or one of your inspectors have inspected a property that you found mud tunnels, you give your report. In the report, do you give a plan of action or what's involved?
Yes. So we do a few things. So it's in the report, in the home inspection report, and we put that, there were signs of termites. And we recommend treatment.
Okay.
Right? We always do. As soon as I find the damage, I breathe a sigh of relief because I actually would rather find the damage than it come back later on, because it's going to come back later on. Like whenever they find it later on, they're going to try to blame us.
Right. That you should have saw it before.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it just wasn't there because they move quick. And then on the termite form, the NMPA 33, we also put on there, and then we recommend treatment as well. Because then it's up to the pest control company. They don't have to do the treatment. It's up to the home buyer what they do. Depending on your loan, they may want to only close with some type of treatment.
VA.
Okay.
Yeah,
VAs.
VAs.
They love that.
They love it.
And grants.
Grants
Too.
Yeah.
It's a condition to close to get that termite certification for the VA loans.
Right.
Is it
and
really?
they have to have an invoice that the seller paid, which the seller never pays.
The seller never pays.
But which is interesting because in single family, multifamily housing contracts, there's a provision about termites, and it says that if termites are found, generally it says, but if termites are found, that the seller can just give $1,000 to the buyer, that the seller can treat and must give a 1-year guarantee. Or at least a 1-year service plan for free, or the seller can walk away and cancel the contract. But either way...
Which the service plans don't mean anything.
It doesn't.
I didn't hear that, so whatever the way my client decides, but it's up to the buyer. I'm sorry, it's up to the seller what to do.
It's a business decision.
And if the seller wants to give $1,000, if the seller wants to get a service plan or walk away from the deal, but it's important. It's important enough that it's addressed and gives people the option of what to do if your house has termites. So it is crucial.
It's everywhere. My house had termites. I found it. You want to know how I found it? It wasn't during my home inspection, which, by the way, my company
construction?
did. We did renovation. We opened up. We gutted the whole first floor, found it behind drywall, and went all the way to the second floor. They came in through the attic vent. Which is very odd because they must have came through a swarm because subterranean come from the ground up. So they came down.
So now, maybe you haven't, but this is probably my worst nightmare. Anytime bees have been found.
Yes. In crawl spaces.
Ooh.
Levitt-style houses, actually, we found them a lot in between.
In
like,
the slats,
yeah.
like the
the
beams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what happens then? Do you just like, all right, I'm disclaiming this
We
and
disclaim
run away?
it. And if they're in a crawl space, we ain't
Run
going
away.
in it.
I'm running away.
We're
Call
not
the
going in
beekeeper.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
not
actual
even.
companies
I'll
that
call-
do it.
Whisperer.
I'll call
Yeah.
a guy who has like a grenade and put it in
No,
there.
smoke
We
bombs.
did a condo in New York, or in New York, and Queens, and there was always a buzzing sound.
No.
Yeah, and we would see bees just coming in, not like a whole swarm, just like 1, 2.
Oh, that's when you know
And-
you have a problem, though. Is you start seeing consistently.
So
just
we're
one.
like, where are the? Like, turns out, agent called me later on because we told him like, hey, we think there's something happening. I have no idea where or how. And what's funny, they tried to like, oh, you guys are the home inspector. You should know, like, no, I don't do bees. Like, I don't, you know.
Do
And
you see me with my
I would-
protective
Yeah.
suit on?
I would pass on that house, even if it's my absolute dream home. I would pass. I'd
so
be
you
like,
guys
nope.
know, like in these New York City buildings, the radiators would be
Yes.
like on the exterior wall. The bees were in between the radiator and the
And the wall.
brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
Nope.
there's actually a company.
No.
I'm just going to go off on a little tangent. So there's actually a company that manufactures through wall beehives.
Wow.
And I've
Nope.
seen it in
Nope.
action.
Should be illegal.
Yeah, no. I've seen it in action. So the interior facing portion of the beehive is clear plexiglass,
No, thank you.
and they have built-in tunnels and entryways for the bees to go.
What do they use it as artwork or something?
No, they just want to see. You know how people
No.
have the
No.
ant farms in their house?
No.
This is just
No. Just no.
I agree with you. No
no.
is the way to go with this particular thing. But I really thought it was so cool. I was like, oh my god, you can actually see.
I'm
the
never
bees.
coming over to your house if you're going to have this thing.
Yeah, no, I will never get it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, especially not.
I mean,
on
I
Long
guess it
Island.
would be kind of cool to see, but
Yeah, it was just cool to
On the
see.
TV, maybe. But
Yeah.
No,
not
it was
that-
cool to see.
I'd rather
Definitely,
not see
but
that. Like,
I'm not afraid of bees, but tens of thousands of bees entering your home while you're asleep
No.
or in your vicinity.
what's worse, bees or yellow jackets?
Wasps.
They're wasps.
Hornets. And
Yellow jackets are
you-
mean.
I got stung on my face by a 7 all at once.
Yellow jackets are
So-
mean. They're aggressive.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that-
I was
those
they
Those
were
killer
black- they were
hornets,
like
is that what they
black
call
things.
killer
Oh,
hornets?
the
Asian- Asian hornet?
Yeah,
Nope. So what?
Nope.
So I'm a big science buff. So I checked the science on it.
It ain't real.
No, the science is real. They have near photographic memory.
No.
Yes.
So if you wrong them,
they're coming for you.
oh boy.
Well, they say that about not as bad though. Yellow jackets, if you mess with them, like you swat it, they'll follow you, and they leave a pheromone
Yes.
on you.
Oh,
So they're tracking
They
their own
track
smell.
you down. So
Yeah.
literally, I had killed one, and then I went and jumped into my pool real quick. Because
Yeah,
I was
you
so
gotta try to wash
scared.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to.
I'm not leaving my
Yeah.
apartment anymore.
Yeah. But you know what you could do, which really helped us, because there's like getting rid of them
Kill
was like
them?
horrible. No, brown paper bags.
To do what?
Just put it all around your backyard.
And what do they do?
They think they're very territorial, so they think it's a nest.
And then, but how do they die?
They don't die.
Oh,
They just stay
what?
out. They don't like. They're very territorial,
No.
so they don't get near other hives.
No, they need to die.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they do some good. I don't
All right,
know.
all right, honeybees.
You're gonna get us in
honeybees,
trouble with like the
like
animal
a
rights
beekeeper, like
people.
some
Yeah.
apiar. What do they call
Yeah.
them? Apiarist or whatever.
I don't
But
know.
honeybees, that's one thing. Okay?
Sorry, bee people.
No, honeybees, I support. Okay, not much, but I support. None of the other stuff.
Okay. So let's get back to the topic.
It is Halloween. I had to bring up something very scary.
That was scary.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
Termites and then that.
So, okay, you were talking to Jason about foundations, right? So
Yes.
what type of, if any, structural inspections do you do and report back?
Yeah, so we're always on the hunt for structural issues.
Okay.
So, and sometimes they're not so obvious, especially if like it's a slab house, we can't see the foundation. Like an engineer could come in, they're not going to see the
They're not,
foundation.
yeah.
So we're looking at like signs, like cracks around doors, are the windows opening and closing, are the doors opening and closing. We can't see what's happening underneath the floor. So like, again, that was another situation. I have so many situations. But we had another situation, they gutted the house, took out all the flooring, and there was huge issues of the foundation underneath the flooring. There was no other signs of anything else except underneath the flooring. How could we have seen that?
No.
You could.
You
Your
can't.
ultrasonic radar.
Oh, yeah.
There's no
vision.
way.
We're not looking for bodies.
We
Sorry.
can't see those things.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
just
the
like and
FBI
people,
is not lending us their
people
No.
forget that. So, and you know, So I love when the foundation issues are like right in front of us where we can see. Otherwise, we're looking for signs of issues. And even then, it's not a guarantee that there's nothing that's wrong or could change. And a huge thing that people forget, gutters are a huge thing to help protect your foundation. Gutters are huge.
Because
the water would sit
the
there.
water go?
If
you don't have a gutter extension, you're asking for foundation problems and mold.
What about a French drain?
I like French drain. Yeah.
So I'm
as long as the pump is working.
So I living in the harbor. I will tell you firsthand that it was a good idea for those listening that heard about Hurricane Sandy. If it was not for that drain and a working sump pump that I tested habitually,
you still do it?
I still do it.
Yeah, good.
I'm not playing because all of my neighbors, every last one of them, had at least 6 inches of water in their property.
Did you get any?
None.
That's great. All because of that.
Everything was good. And everyone was like, how is it that you're not bailing water out of your property right now? I'm like, because my sump pump worked. But where'd you get power from? I have a generator in my garage. No, really. Because at that, maybe 6 months prior,
he stole gas from the gas station.
No, I got a Generac installed.
Oh, for the whole house.
Yeah.
Oh,
right? So I got a Generac installed.
Those are nice.
And they're pricey.
Yeah.
So,
that's an investment.
It is. And people are like, oh, why'd you do it? Because
look what happened.
I know my product, your product. Yes, I sell real estate. I see what houses need, and I will not let my family go without their chicken nuggies. If the power goes out.
Showers.
Yeah.
Well, there's still issues with.
Oh, there's always going to be an issue.
From Superstorm Sandy. Like, we've done inspections. People didn't even realize there was a crawl space, and it still has water from that storm.
Yeah, and they were trying to figure out where that moldy smell is coming from. We ripped out all our carpet, and we still... Well...
We sprayed it with Clorox.
Yeah. We had a guy in here with an air scrubber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That's not going to happen. Okay, so you report that back. So is there anything that you would recommend people, buyers, requesting a home inspection look for or ask for that's not normal?
You can... Okay, so nowadays we're doing... Mold is not included in home inspections.
But is it an add-on? Can I add it on?
Yeah.
Can I ask for it?
Absolutely. And we are doing a lot of that because I've just been trying to educate even the real estate community about that because agents, as soon as you hear mold, they freak out. So they tell their buyers, no, you don't need this inspection. You don't need that. You just need to do this. Well, wait a second. Who's now taking liability for that?
Not me. Wait a second.
So
Hold
it's like...
Not present company.
Yeah. I keep trying to tell them, like, stay in your lane. Like, if we find mold...
Yes.
Because, like, drywall...
For all the new agents listening to this and all actively practicing experienced agents, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Your license does not transfer over to home inspection.
No. And like mold is one of those things where you can have a small dot right here, and agents will say, "Oh, that's easy. Just clean it off with some bleach."
Yeah.
No.
Wait a second. Bleach doesn't do anything though.
Take off that drywall and tell me what it looks like behind. I don't
know because
It's a whole nother issue.
No, it's a whole another colony.
Yeah.
It's literally a colony.
So so I always tell buyers like, look, if we find mold or something that looks like mold, then we would recommend a mold inspection.
Right.
And not all our inspectors have them because it's an expensive test. Like we have, not a test, license. It's a whole separate license.
Right.
So if the inspector on site has a license, they can do the mold inspection right there and then. Otherwise, we can come back next day or whatever and do the mold inspection. But don't be the one to discourage them to do these extra services.
I encourage everything.
Because at the end of the day, they're paying for this.
Yeah. I tell everybody, get everything.
Yeah.
Get everything. I was like, if you have to pay extra, pay for it.
Yeah. Because it adds a whole nother issue.
So my thing is I usually tell them, ask them what's included in the price that they've quoted you. Right? And then if there's anything that you need or want outside of that, ask them what each additional add-on costs and then add those on. And they're like, why? If it's an add-on. I'm like, because it's an add-on for a reason.
Yeah.
And think about the investment you're about to make.
Right.
You're going to spend $750,000 and you're worried about that very nominal fee that the home inspector is going to...
Exactly. This is not the time or place to cheap out.
No. So, this is the single best place to actually spend money, in my professional opinion.
That's huge is sewer scopes.
Oh, I love those things.
That? Sewer scopes? Oh, yeah.
I love
that.
So,
it's like a colonoscopy for your house.
Yes, it absolutely is. I like that. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's
know,
great.
but
and Long Island, how many? You guys live in Suffolk?
No.
No. Okay.
I had a cesspool.
Okay, so you had a cesspool. Did you actually know where your cesspool was located?
I did not, and then we had problems.
And then you had problems,
Bingo.
right?
Yep.
So the sewer scope is from the house to wherever your septic or cesspool is, and it's telling us if there's tree roots, what the line looks like, things like that. Then most time, because Suffolk County is dumb, Long Island is dumb.
Long Island is
the North Shore. The North Shore.
I have to agree.
Upstate New York, they have totally different septic laws.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Very strict. Long Island, we don't.
We just have a pit with
Right.
just ugh in it.
So most people have never even emptied out their cesspools.
Never.
Don't even know where it is. They don't even understand what a cesspool is. They think they're on public sewer. So now this sewer scope tells us where this system is located. And we can, because we have like a tracker.
Right.
And we tell them, hey, your system's over here. Once we hit the tank, we can't actually inspect the tank because it's pitch dark inside.
Yeah.
Even doesn't matter how big of a flashlight you put in there. So we tell them, and if they want a further like cesspool inspection, that's a totally different service, which I'm working on. Don't have it yet.
Okay.
But that's a totally different inspection. And now, usually, a cesspool septic company will come out with shovels.
Yeah. And
now we've told them where the tank is at, and they'll start digging it up, trying to find the entrance, and then they'll pump it out or do an inspection of it, and from there.
I had a backhoe on my lawn.
Ooh.
They couldn't find it, so I really wish I took up that service.
They really couldn't find it?
Yeah, they had a guy with like a probe, and he's like on my lawn.
That's how you do it.
And for hours, and he couldn't find it. And then they had this other thing that went over, like kind of like a metal detector almost.
Like a tracker,
couldn't find it, so they had to get it back. It was in the. I mean, I knew where it was, but it was buried so far down that you would never find it. So they had to build this tube that went up to about maybe like a foot.
The
or
rings,
two.
they had to do the collars.
Yep.
So when we bought our building in Smithtown. We bought the building in Smithtown, and I didn't have the sewer scopes yet at the time, but we went in there a little bit like cocky.
Of course.
Like, oh, we know what we're doing. We don't need, I still had one of my guys do the inspection, but we didn't do the cesspool inspection or the sewer scope. Because I didn't even have the equipment yet. Now I have like a bunch of it. So we buy the building, and I tell my business partner, hey, we need to do... I want to get the tank emptied. Probably the building's 1920. It's probably never been emptied. Never. And there was no cover on the outside. Like you couldn't find it. All right. So we go get the company out there, a company that we work closely with. They're probing the backyard. I know the whole process, so that's why I should just do it already. They're probing the whole backyard. Can't find anything. So now I'm getting nervous. I'm like, well, listen. Like, this back extension, this was done in the 50s.
Oh,
he goes, no. They weren't that dumb back then. All right. So now we're checking the Chinese, which never opened a Chinese restaurant, cesspool or septic tank because it stunk. Like, they've had food, everything that was in there. It was nasty. They just chugging everything down the drain.
Those cesspool pump guys must have loved you.
Yeah. So we're checking all this, and... So finally I said, look, get the sewer scope, get the sono, let's get the tracker, so we broke open this cast iron pipe that's never been open, ever. And we go 5 feet in, and we hit the tank. And I'm like,
no.
And he's like, no, don't freak out. I'm like, no, I am going to freak out. I know where it is now. He goes, no. I'm like, it's underneath this extension that we have zero access to. Like, there is no... getting to it.
Yes. There's nothing.
Like, there's nothing.
Wow.
So he gets a sono, and he's like, oh, yeah. Right here.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know. Like,
I'm laughing now, but if it was me, I'd be
So
ballistic.
Literally, we had to go. We did the whole new system. We rerouted it, abandoned the tank the right way. Like, it was just...
Okay, yeah, that's a whole process
It's
by itself.
a whole process. So I was just like, this is not happening. So I think... I want to say it cost us like $16,000, $17,000.
I was gonna say that. Well, that's on the cheap end because she's got.
Because then we did a septic tank, and then Long Island doesn't have leach fields, so the liquid has to go. So then we had a cesspool connected to it from there.
Oh, okay. So that's why it costs you.
Did you get the grants for the septic tank? Because I know that they,
I didn't know.
I know that they have
grants.
because I know that Suffolk. I think it's more out east for.
I think Bridget just wanted to get it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be like,
I'm
going to wait for a grant.
I think Babylon has a grant, but we're in Smithtown. I didn't hear anything.
Either way, I don't know how the leach field. Obviously, there's the septic tank, but the cesspool, and it's interesting because the reason that Long Island and especially Suffolk County have cesspools is that. Back when like Levittown and everything started booming, they were going to build sewers.
Yes.
And so they said, all right, well, these houses we need to build, but we don't have sewers yet. So we're just going to put these tubs here, and it'll just be temporary. And
Never happened.
And here we are 80-something years later. And
happened in Nassau County, but most of Suffolk still. Like, I live in Lindenhurst, and we have public sewers, but I'm a rare commodity.
Yeah, up in the North Shore of Nassau County, you get a lot of cesspools.
Yeah.
I lived in
Glen Head, those areas.
I grew up in Seacliff and lived in a house that was about 140 years old.
Yeah.
Our cesspool was the size of 2 bathtubs.
Wow.
What?
That's not big enough for a whole house.
3 weeks we had it pumped every 3 weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what people don't realize. Like, and the other thing that people think, like, oh, but it's a cesspool. Like, do you even know what a cesspool looks like?
People don't even know what it
means. It's a can with holes. So if it's not filled, I mean, if you're not getting it pumped, where's all that crap going?
And then you're taking a walk on your front lawn and then squish.
Yeah, they think it's just muddy water.
Yeah. And their logic was, well, Long Island's sandy, so it acts as a natural filtration. We still have a nitrate problem in Long Island.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
anyways, we will forever have a nitrate problem.
So bees and cesspools.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get back on track. Right. So we did the foundation thing. So what else is in the report that you or another home inspector would provide to the buyer?
I mean, just read the report. A lot of times, them not reading would solve so many problems because a lot of times buyers will pay for our service
and never read it,
and never even read it, or never even open the report. So
that's because they expect the attorney to read it.
Well,
to be honest,
sometimes, but
we don't send it to the attorney.
No,
they do. They forward.
Yeah.
We live in an age where everybody wants to give someone else to do the work for them.
Well, what happens is when I get an inspection report, I go to the client. I'm like, I don't know this house. Okay, you look through the report, find what's important to you, and tell me what you want repaired, or you want me to negotiate with the other side. If you don't quite know what's important to you just yet, ask your inspector and talk to your inspector about, how important is this, or, I'm nervous because I see this, because it could be something as simple as, a reverse polarity of one outlet.
Right. Which is not difficult.
Yeah, or it could be something like as major as I just had one last week or this week. Sewage back up into the house because roots were growing through the sewer pipe. So it was actually backing up straight up into the house, and then the boiler and burner were leaking. So, these were huge red flags.
Yeah.
They are.
So I said that, my client had sent me that, and I said, you know what, come back and tell me, like, what you feel is important to you. Because you're spending this on this house. You're spending, I think it was $630,000 on this house. Now, obviously, you're taking it with its faults. If it was perfect, it would be, priceless.
Yeah.
Okay? But I can negotiate and help, or try to negotiate and help get these things repaired for you as a repair writer before closing. So my client said, okay, let me look at it. Finds what items he wants. Perfect. So now I go to the other attorney and I say, these are the items, take a look at this. And here's their inspection report so that you can see what we're referring to, which is crucial.
Right, you have to have their evidence.
Yeah, because if the other attorney gets a repair writer and it says, they have to repair.
Ask for proof,
either that or they're going to have, they're like, why? Is there some issue with it? Because they don't know either. So, I do that as well. I'll send it over and say, look at item 37, look at item 22, and it just makes everything flow better. Now, at that time, it's kind of like a business decision between both of our clients. Do they want to, do a credit? Say, okay, purchase price is $630, but because the boiler's leaking, I'll give you $3,000. And if my client says that's fine, that's fine.
And then it becomes the liability of the
then that's it. Because if you give that $3,000 credit, you've satisfied your obligations under the contract.
Yeah.
And in other times, it says, okay, the hot water heater's leaking. Okay, so they have to replace it by a licensed company, a licensed insured company.
Provide a receipt.
And provide a paid receipt. Yeah. Air conditioners. I get a lot of condensers, where they say the condenser is reaching its age and everything like that. And so I'm not going to say replace the condenser. And I tell my clients that. I'm like, they're not going to go for that. I was like, if there's a backup offer, they're going to go with that.
Yeah, they're going to go whatever's easier.
Exactly.
Path of least resistance.
So I'll say, look, I can ask them to have it serviced by a licensed and insured company and give you a 1 year guarantee.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are the things that and then, they'll ask for a new roof. I always get that. They ask for like a straight up new roof. Yeah. And then I'm like, no. I'm like, technically.
Don't you love those?
Legally, I'm supposed to ask the other side for a new roof.
Right.
But at the same time, I tell my client, I'm like, if I go to the other side with this demand of a new roof that's not leaking, but you want a new roof, then they're going to say, oh, yeah, hold on 1 second. Call up that backup offer, and you're going to lose your house. Yep. And you're going to lose the house.
People don't understand that. You push too hard. You're pushing the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's all about education. I'm really a firm believer in it because sometimes I feel like these buyers come in with unrealistic expectations and just think like, well, HGTV does not help.
Listen,
does not help.
I was will never for 2 weeks
advocate for HGTV.
Yeah,
we do not watch that in my house.
No.
Period. If I see it on, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Tariq El Moussa.
Because there is so much misinformation. I don't know which part of the country these people are getting these facts from, but that stuff does not fly in New York.
No.
Yeah, well, New York is a totally different market compared to everybody else.
If I'm representing a seller and you come in and you say, oh, well, I want a new roof.
Yeah.
You're out of luck.
No. Let me call up that agent with the other offer.
Yeah, no.
I mean, even us as home inspectors, we don't tell them you need a new roof.
No.
Like, we're
just tell them like
hey,
it is. This is
you know
what?
These are the issues that are happening with the roof. Be prepared. It may be 5 years. It may be 10 years. We don't know.
Maybe next month.
Well, let me gripe about you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So
I like that gripe about you.
I get a lot of, kickback on contracts and investigate and inspectors and everything, because I'll have clients come to me and say, oh, well, this is it's going to be dead in 5 years. Or that I have to have an electrician look at it, or I have to have a plumber look at it, or I have to have and I'm like, no, and I'm like, that's not like you don't have to, like, if you want to, you can have them check it out, and I'm like, but this is the inspector telling you that if you want to dig in further,
if you want a more invasive look at it,
exactly. So I'm not really griping about it. I'm just saying
why do we write it like that?
Exactly.
I'm going to jump on this bandwagon too because
wait, hold on here. You write it in there, and then I have to answer that question for the clients.
They don't call us, by the way.
Yeah.
After we leave, we do our company. We do a whole follow up.
Everybody in New York,
call them.
Getting a home inspection, call Bridget. And
we do like the office. It's like we have we call them maybe 2-3 days after the inspection, and we say, hey, is there any questions? You want the inspector to call you? We don't hear a peep, and if they do, we get the inspector on the phone, answer the questions. So legally, we have to do it where there's an electric issue in the panel. Whatever it is, ungrounded outlets, whatever, or ungrounded panel, whatever the case may be on the bus bar, right? We have to put inspector recommends further evaluation or repair or replace by qualified professional, or in that case, if it's electric thing, we would put the appropriate party. If I'm buying a 1952 house and this house the whole house is ungrounded outlets, is that really something? What's the electrician going to say? You're buying a 1952 house. This is common.
System needs to be upgraded.
So we tell them, okay, let's get technical. How do you fix that? The real way is you do have to replace the wires in the whole house, right? Is that reasonable for most people? No.
Can you just do a jumper?
No. Technically, because you're not changing the wires on the inside.
My favorite. Can we just add in a box?
But you could actually, some people do a makeshift way to make it look rounded. But the real way, so when I bought my house, my house is 1952. I always use that because it's my house.
It's yours.
Right? And I bought it knowing my whole house needed to be upgraded. I had 100 amp. My whole house was ungrounded. But I literally gutted my entire house.
Yeah, so you knew it was
So
coming.
I went in
You had the access.
knowing that I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm getting a new roof. Don't care about any of this because I'm going to knock this all out. I knew the attic, the second floor staining on the second floor had like a pea yellowish staining. My husband's like, oh, what is it? I'm like, it's probably a leak or raccoons or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, but why does it matter? We're dormering this house. Like, the whole roof is coming off. We're doing a whole new attic. I don't care.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wish I could, like, look at it like you, because I'm just looking at it a different way.
Right, and a lot of buyers look at it that way, too. They have the foresight of what they're going to do later on. 1 year, 2 years, 6 months.
Right.
But they can't get themselves out of their own way.
Yeah.
Right, because the way you saw it is the way you're going to get it. In theory, right? In theory, let's just
Subject to reasonable wear and tear.
right, right. So, and reasonable is the word.
Well, if it's aluminum wiring, then you have a problem.
Yeah, if it's aluminum wire,
Because you got a
fuses.
fire. Yeah, fuses. Like, there's certain issues that are just, it's a safety issue or a very expensive issue to fix. Like a foundation. That would be an extremely expensive thing
and then
to
we
fix.
go back to the very beginning where it's a business decision. Right? So if the buyer can get out of their own way and look at it from a business perspective, knowing what they have planned into the future, they can make it themselves a very good decision.
Look, I was looking at $200,000 houses, which don't exist now in West Babylon.
Did you see the way I was looking at her? I was
Yeah.
like,
It doesn't exist
I was
now.
aware.
But when I was buying in the process, $200,000 house in West Babylon,
Okay.
right? Which is nice.
2008, 9.
2000, 6 years ago.
Okay.
But it was 200,000 for a reason.
Yeah.
I walk
'cause
in-
We just found out.
Squatters.
We just found out she just
No,
had
like
to do a whole
you
gut.
walked in and there was sunlight.
Oh, I like sunlight.
Like the roof had collapsed. There was a tree on the roof.
That's a added amenity.
Yeah,
You
and
want that.
there was like mold in the whole
Fixer-upper.
basement. That's the thing. So I was like, "This is perfect." I told my husband, I was like, "This is great," and he's like, "Oh my god, like why do you want to do all this? Look at all this mold. Look at all this. You can see through." I'm like, "No, this is perfect." Like we take off the whole roof. We do a whole second floor. We put 200,000-300,000 in. We've just made up like we're good. And I did. We got aggressive with trying to get that house, but then a investor, cash buyer, came in and grabbed that baby, and now that house is like worth like 950,000. So in retrospect, I was not scared of work.
Right, and you can't be. I mean, but the
But
average
that
consumer
price
doesn't wanna
explained
get-
it.
It does.
Well, what's that movie? Was it a Tom Hanks movie called Money Pit? Is that what it was called? I think it might have been Tom Hanks. If I'm wrong,
I don't know.
forgive
We'll
me.
look it up later.
But yeah, he did the same thing, but it just didn't work out for him. And a lot of people and unfortunately, a lot of people who go in with that mindset, they don't have that knowledge that you do,
Right.
and they think they're investors and
Yes.
hard
Doing-
money
yeah.
loans.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The reality TV
Yeah.
show, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah. So you get these.
I mean, I did a 2 or 3K loan.
Yeah.
So my reno was in my mortgage.
Yes, and we're getting into that in the next few weeks.
Yep.
But people think when you tell them 203K, 203B, they're like, "What?"
Yeah,
I'm
they
like, it's a
don't-
renovation.
understand.
no one explains it.
Nobody
No,
knows.
well, I explained every short sale I've sold in the last 20 years, outside of cash investors, 75% of them are all 203K, 203B.
It's a great
renovation.
product.
It is.
It is,
And
yeah.
the average consumer doesn't know that
No,
it
they don't
exists.
If you ever need a consultant, we do consulting.
Okay. I got you. But it's like phenomenal too.
Yeah.
I personally have used it this many times. Twice.
That's great.
No, because it's a tool.
You could use it more than once.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. I could actually refinance my house and
With a
still
2
do
or
a
3K?
2 or
Yes.
3K.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
You refi
So like if I
out
just
of
start
203.
breaking things in my house, like I could just
that's
No,
not
no.
right.
There's a baby one and there's
Okay.
like a full blown
the
one.
B is like
Yeah.
less than. I gotta
I
check the
want
numbers.
to
That's
say
like 20.
25.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 25?
20,
Yeah.
25.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2025. And then the K is for over, but then you got to get
It's a whole.
That's the
a licensed contractor estimate,
the
and
plan,
outline,
Yeah.
and
right.
approved, and all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then FHA sends their own inspector out
Yeah.
to break it down to make sure that all those things need.
But
to
you
be
can do
done.
anything. Like I took off, we did a dormer and we converted our garage and then we did a whole extension behind our garage and we did like everything. I mean, it's within
put that work
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I did massive. It was 9 months of renovations.
Wow.
And,
were you living in it for a part of the time?
No, thank God. My grandparents, my in-laws let us live in the basement. So here we are.
That's the way to do it.
At the time, we had a dog. My daughter was like 2, 1, something like that. And we were living in their basement. And then every night, my husband would take the train to Lynn. He works in Queens, and I would go do inspections and then go to the house because I made sure it was the first thing after we closed. I got internet at the house, and so I could work. Right? Didn't want to be. I wanted to be able to do reports, all that, and we would be there every day for 9 months until 1 o'clock in the morning because he would come. He tried to do as much work as he could himself to save money, and he did. I mean, he did a great job. And I have a whole beautiful kitchen because my husband and my father-in-law too.
What?
Yeah.
Leveraging that family.
So my house is literally brand new. Like we gutted everything.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it wouldn't have been possible without. So it's a great. It depends on the buyer, what they're walking in, the mentality that they're having.
Right.
Are they? If you have a buyer that tells you, "Hey, this house is the top of my budget." And I have no money left to do any type of work. And this house comes back with a huge foundation issue.
Yeah, they're walking.
And they're walking because that house is not for them.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with buyers. They don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
They want everything pristine, ready to roll. They just want to come in with
realistic expectations.
They want to come in with their swatches, which is fine, right? If that's what you want and your budget allows for it, right? They don't want to, they come in with their swatches and they're like, no, seriously.
Yeah.
They come in with swatches.
Yeah, no, I believe
I actually had a buyer walk into an open house of mine with a little paint sample can. And she opened it.
Oh, no.
No, she didn't.
Oh, no.
So the person, thankfully, the agent that was assisting me that day was like, Bisendra. I'm like, I was like, do not call my name unless something is catastrophic. It was warranted. Yeah. This consumer. I gotta woosah this one because it gets me going. Literally was about to paint her paint color on the wall to see what it would look like.
Well, was it her house? Like, was it the house for her?
So,
did the paint job work?
No.
I mean, did she finally go with that paint?
So the icing on the cake of this story is that buyer was represented by an agent who was present at the open house with her and stood there and watched her open the paint can.
And she didn't stop her?
No, so I turned to the agent, not the consumer, and I said, excuse me. I said, is this your buyer? And they said, yeah. I was like, do you not see anything wrong here? Yeah. Oh, she just wants to see what her paint's going to...
How is that appropriate?
It's so inappropriate.
Yeah.
She just wants to see before she makes an offer. I said, no. That's not how this process works. Please do not...
No.
Were they a new agent?
No.
Really?
No.
Like experience?
Yeah.
Imagine
how
walking.
many transactions did they do a year?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not even checking because they were asked to leave.
Imagine like you're just putting it out there as like a feeler, your house, and you come back after the open house and you just see like random paint splashes on your.
I'd be pissed.
Oh man,
I'd be to my agent.
I'd be like Bisendra.
My agent would
I'd be like,
unfortunately
it would
get
never happen. It would have never happened because I always have help. Because if it's multi-floored, I always have another agent
can't
on
see
one
it somewhere
floor.
up there.
Yeah, and I have one person manning the door, and we make sure that everyone gets an equal opportunity and to see the areas that they want to see.
Yeah,
but do not come in trying to And she's lucky she didn't get tackled because if that paint would have got close to the wall, I would have tackled.
But if she got tackled, then the paint would have fell on the floor.
Okay, Mr.
You're right. It was hardwood floors? Or?
No, it was hardwood. But I was not letting it happen because I have to protect my seller.
Yeah.
So
I would have been pissed as a seller if that happened.
Oh, yeah.
That's
what
unfortunately, my agent would be hearing it.
She saw the whole thing.
The seller? What, Ring cameras?
No, so one of the services that I offer for an open house is that I live stream my open house.
That's a very unique.
Yeah, because I don't want them present during the show.
I've never heard of that.
Very unique selling point.
Yes.
I like that.
Right, because you want to feel secure.
Yeah.
And I want to make you feel secure. Yeah. And I want, right? So she saw the whole thing. She was like, oh my God, that lady almost ruined my house. I said, yes, she did. But she's like, the way you reacted so quickly, I was like, yeah. She's like, I didn't think you were going to have 4 other agents. I'm like, yeah, I'm here to protect you.
I mean, look, I've done inspections where we go in and the agent's like, please, can you take off your shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I've had, while I'm there, the buyers father or father-in-law, whoever it is, start cursing up a storm. I'm not taking it off my freaking shoes. And they're like, well, then we can't let you in. And they're like, why? My daughter's buying this. Why can't I come in?
Your daughter hasn't bought it yet.
You haven't bought it yet. It's not your rules. It's the seller's rules. And if they have kids, maybe they have somebody who's sick. Like, I don't like shoes in my house. As soon as you walk into my house, I'm like, take off your shoes. Yeah.
But if you
say it nicely, but
if you take off your shoes,
depending on who you are.
If you take off your shoes and then you have to go to the basement or the attic. Or, so what happens there? Like, it's
I take my shoes, and if the basement's unfinished and it's dirty, I'll take my shoes. Or at the backyard, Now I have to just adjust myself because I have to respect the space. Just like I want people to respect my space.
And also,
come into my house.
It's a religious thing for some people that they take their shoes off.
It is. It's a respect thing.
Yeah.
But usually that's a question that I ask.
What's funny is he actually said that. He goes, is it a religious thing? What are I forget. He's actually mentioned, which is actually totally against fair housing. Yeah. Which is a whole.
Well, was he an agent? Was
no,
subject to it?
But technically, you're supposed to
it's a respect thing. Yeah, and it's a question that I ask. Like, do you prefer? Do you have a preference to shoes in your house during showings? If they say yes, and it's their home, they can say whatever they want. And I ask them, is it okay if I have them wear booties?
Yeah, I'd be fine with booties.
A lot of times they say yes because they just don't want the outside coming in.
Well, that was my house at COVID. At the open house, they all had to wear booties.
Yeah, everybody. We were wearing booties, masks.
It's a very small thing.
Gloves. Gloves were dumb.
Oh, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, the gloves were like, no, please wear gloves too.
Yeah, so booties normally is okay, So, and then you just throw them away. So, after the inspection is done and the report gets sent, you guys are available.
Yeah, we don't disappear.
Okay.
If your company disappears, there's a problem.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
We may not, if you call our office, you can ask the office, I get super crazy in the office. That phone's ringing.
Hey, office, does the phone go crazy?
And, but we have a whole system. I like the thing, my thing is, I'm big on customer service, I think, because back in the day, I came from customer service. So, when I call somewhere, I want to be answered, right? And if we miss it, we do have, a voicemail. We have, an auto text that goes out. We're sorry we missed your call. And the office calls back very quickly. Cool. We get, an alert. So, we'll call back. And, what is your question? How can we help you? Whatever your concern is. Oh, I have a question in the kitchen. Can you answer it for me? I may not be able to answer it, but I can get the inspector to give you a call. He's at an inspection right now, and we'll give him a call. We'll reach out to him. He'll call you later on tonight when he's done with inspections and go over it. And that's it.
That's big.
It is.
We don't
disappear. Follow up is key to the whole thing.
Yeah,
I think people just want that open communication sometimes, and we try to stress it to them. That's why we contact them so many times after the inspection, and then we have auto emails that go out too. If there's any questions, please let us know. Do you need a final walkthrough? We have a whole separate email on that.
No, that's big too.
Oh yeah,
because I don't
highly recommend that.
The more we tell them, the less liability is on us. And everybody else, because now they can't come back and say, well, you didn't tell me. Well, wait a sec. We sent you all these things to tell you we could do this. At the end of the day, you are your own person.
So what's funny is, pro tip of the day, I always tell my buyers, when you do a final walkthrough, at a minimum, right? Because sometimes there's an additional fee required for the home inspector.
Yeah.
So I tell them, bring the photos or the report with you from your inspection. They're like, why? Because those are the most recent photos
you have of
that you have of when everything was there.
And if you have a repair writer, please tell us ahead of time.
Right.
Because the final walkthrough is not a home inspection.
It's not. It's just we're looking for things that are abnormal that wasn't there at the right.
And we're checking heating. Make sure the heat still kicks on.
Yep.
And we talking about the repair writer, you just said you would do this. Let's see if they did it.
Let's check it.
Yeah.
And they said they would repair this. Okay.
They take it for granted.
It's still leaking.
They take it for granted.
Yeah.
But at the closing table, they're not going to take the consumer's word for it. They're going to take the professional's word for it. So if you take the inspector, whatever the nominal fee would be, I don't know. I don't get involved in
It's not much. It's less than $200.
Okay. Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
Then
totally
worth it. It's worth it then.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have your professional go with you.
It's just to pay for the inspector's time to get out there.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth it. And then you verify that all the stuff is done on the rider, and you go to closing.
And think about it. When you do your final walkthrough, you're going to closing in a couple hours or the next morning.
The next morning,
It's
and
relatively quick. Yeah.
so you're like, you don't care. You're very excited or anxious or nervous. You got to get all these checks, these bank checks. All the lawyers are going to be there. You're going to sign all the loan docs, and sometimes I
don't think I slept the night before closing.
Yeah, so like
I sleep really good after closing.
Oh, man.
I'm sure you do. The night before, I was like so nervous.
But it's so easy, like just as like a regular Joe Schmo, to just like overlook things, especially if you had a repair writer saying this person was going to fix in the first place.
You have the butterflies. You have the jitters.
So having another person there, especially a professional, it's just
that's
crucial.
solely there for your benefit.
Solely
there for your benefit.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's an investment that you're going to be. Chances are, if you're buying all cash, great, good for you. But you're going to be paying for this thing for 30 years unless you accelerate your payments, and so it's a huge investment. And why should you not spend a little bit more just to have that reassurance and to make sure that you're not forgetting something, and to have a professional there to see that things were done and see that things were done properly.
And you know what? My thing is, we've, as an inspection company, we do the home inspection, do the final walkthrough. We've had clients call us at the closing table. Because they're just nervous and they feel like we're the only people on their side. Because now you're at closing.
Hey,
Well, I'll tell you why. and it's actually sometimes when it comes down to the agent, because they say they don't trust their agent. So there's also,
present company excluded.
Yeah. I mean,
no, I'm not even.
Actually, if you're sitting across the table from me, you better not trust me because I'm coming for you.
It's just, I think it's also just the relationship with some people in the industry changes with their buyer at some point.
Absolutely.
And if your buyer feels like that something has gone really wrong, because we shouldn't really be the one that they're talking to
at a closing table. No offense, but
no, it really isn't. I
Yeah.
kind of feel some type of way about that. We'll address that in a later podcast.
It doesn't happen often. I think we've had it happen 5 times out of the thousands of inspections.
And I don't foresee it happening, and it's totally off topic, but that goes into agency where, buyers don't normally know. They need to question who their agent truly represents. And we'll get into that because that
just changed.
Yeah, it just changed.
It's just a whole nother conversation.
It's like a whole other thing, and there's not going to be a lot of happy people.
No.
And PCDA changed too, which is a whole other topic.
That changed a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
That's changing in March, I think.
March.
2024.
March.
Yeah.
Oh, we got lots of stuff
There's a
going
lot.
on.
I want to be part of that.
We'll bring Bridget back.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, Bridget.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for us too.
This was great.
For anyone listening, we have all the show notes in the description. Bridget was kind enough to offer a home inspection cheat sheet as a PDF, so be sure to go in there and check it out. And maybe some other goodies that she decided to offer you guys will be in there too. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Bridget. Do you want to let us know any of your social handles where people, if they have any questions, they want to reach out to you, or a phone number, feel free.
Yeah, absolutely. So our office number is 516-591-3262. My personal cell phone number.
Oh,
brave.
Whoa.
It's, what? I just feel like sometimes it's better just to get it over with. Is 347-525-3501. You could call me, text me. If we're the inspection boys. We cover everywhere from Westchester all the way out to Montauk. So we're just
sometimes Florida, right?
We have Florida locations too. Yeah.
Okay. And if someone was outside of New York and Florida, can you recommend?
Yeah. So we're in New Jersey, we're in Kansas City, Charleston, and we have some big news coming in a few months too. So where else will we?
Look forward to that.
So
thanks, Bridget, Mr. Kleiger.
Yes.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Bisendra and Brigitte.
Thank you, guys. It was fun.
It was fun. We'll see you in the next one.
As we wrap up this real estate adventure, remember, every key we've shared opens a door to your property dreams. Thank you for joining us on Keys to the Castle. If you enjoyed the journey, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback means the world to us. Don't forget to follow us on social media for the latest updates. And you can find our contact information in the show description. Until next time, happy house hunting, and thank you for listening.